What's that? Sorry, I muted myself.
There you go. You look like a terribly overdubbed or underdubbed Japanese martial arts film. It's like, come on, man. Jeez.
Listen, when the Don is trying to come on, he comes on strong. Okay?
Okay. On that note, hi, everybody. Welcome back to the Battle Bros podcast with Mac and Alamo. Oh, my goodness. Since we're doing terrible, cheesy voiceovers, I'll do Dr. Nick from The Simpsons. Hi, everybody. So, yeah.
Okay.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Borat. Anyway, if you're joining us for the first time, this is the Battle Bros podcast with Mac and Alamo. I am Mac, this handsome SOB. This is Alamo over here. He's going to say hello, greetings, and salutations, and all that good stuff. If you haven't been on the show before, we're just two wild and crazy guys. I'm just kidding.
Greetings and salutations.
There you go. See, it was a little late, but it was all good. We're just two guys that have been friends since high school. Both served in GWAT, all that good stuff. We do a podcast talking about serious stuff related to active duty, the veteran community, all that good stuff. First responders are in there as well. We're not going to leave them out in the cold and the rain. No, come on in, have a cup of coffee, have a cup of Joe. Let's sit down, let's talk, let's bullshit, all that good stuff. So, if you haven't done so, please hit that. Go on any of our YouTube channel, social media, Instagram, the Facebook, all the good stuff. Like, share, subscribe, all the good stuff you're supposed to do when people shamelessly plug their stuff.
Subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
That all right there, all that good stuff. Absolutely. So, if you caught our show last week, it was episode 068. We were talking about the topic of compromise and why that's important in this day and age. Every once in a while, we throw in a serious conversation because, hey, no one else is really going to talk about it unless it's two guys that kind of have some skin in the game. So, yeah. So that's what we do. But tonight is going to be a fun show. We just kicked off season 4. Hard to believe we're already in the 4th season of this show. This started off as a passion project. We'll get into that a little bit later if you're not familiar with it. But season 4 off kicking strong and good stuff. We've already done 2 episodes. This is our 3rd episode. We're getting back to something fun that we like to do. So tonight we are doing another veteran interview panel. All that good stuff. I don't have any sound effects. We're trying to up the production budget a little bit. Bear with Lord, I apologize. Sorry. Bear with us. So yeah. So we are doing one of our favorite our only recurring segment, which is the veteran interview panel. We take everyday folks who have served in the military, might have a cool story, definitely have a cool story. And we let them kind of talk about themselves and put them in the hot seat, shine a little light on their face, going, hey, let's talk about you for a minute. A lot of people are just like, okay. So we've interviewed 6 so far. So this is VIP number 7. We are super excited about having this gentleman on. He is somebody that I have had the pleasure of knowing for quite a few years now, probably close to, 7 for sure, I think. Yeah, so this gentleman has done a great many things. I do not want to give too much away by stealing his thunder because he's going to talk about all the cool stuff that he does and has done. So let's bring him on the show. Alamo, what do you say? Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Battle Bros podcast, Danny Alvarez. Danny Alvarez is the current sitting representative for District 69 for the Florida Congress. Hey, there he is. Dano, what's up, baby?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Hey, man. Hey, good timing on that drive home.
Thank you.
That was fantastic. So
I was trying we were between the rage and the rain. I was trying to keep it all together for you.
Hey, man, I appreciate that. We are super stoked to have you here. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much. Let's hit the ground running and kick this off. So let's talk about you there, Danny. Let's make it uncomfortable a little bit. So what did Danny – so we're going to throw a couple curveballs in there. Are you a boxers or briefs kind of? No, I'm just kidding. That's not a question. We didn't brief that. Nope, it's all good. We didn't brief that. So where did you grow up? What were you like as a kid? All that good stuff, man. Let's start with little Senior Danny. So
I think I was They use your average kid. I was born in Miami, but then, to Cuban parents, and then we moved to Houston, Texas, right away, which was pretty cool. So I was like the only kid that spoke Spanish for a long time, so I hid that. And I know that's crazy because right now, if you go to Houston, it's like really, really highly influenced Mexican over there. Like Mexican. So then they moved back to Miami, and then I was like the weird, like Americanized Texan dude who said, "Hey y'all," and "Yes ma'am," and it didn't fit in with the Hispanic kids over there either. So it was that weird thing, man. But I was like a comic book nerd. I played lacrosse. I did journalism in high school. I don't know. Well,
you were like a walking, talking melting pot of just all these cultures, man. That's fantastic. I like it. Good stuff. I didn't know you lived in Houston for a little while, man. I need to go to Texas. Everybody says Texas is fantastic. So
I'll be in Texas in a couple of weeks. We my best friend, and he's my legislative aide, Ranger Battalion veteran, lost his leg. He and
Peter, right?
Peter, you got him. That's right.
Yeah.
He's a stud. Peter and I help run helicopter landing zones in Texas. Get people hunting pigs up there just so we can raise money for veterans. And we do it on
nice.
It's bad to the bone. I mean,
it sounds really dope.
But it's cool because like you don't want to be like, oh, I'm so used to like hanging out of helicopters, because you realize that civilians have never done that, and it's really a great experience for them. But then we have active duty guys that we fly out there too, and those folks get to intermingle, and you watch. It's just. How like you don't take yourself that serious because you don't think what you're doing when you're in is that cool, and those dudes are getting like a little hero worship from like 12-year-olds, you know what I mean? Which is good because you're inspiring the next generation. And those dudes also that are in need to know, you are a pretty cool guy. I don't care what you do.
By the way, a quick shout out to Peter. He's got probably the best Instagram, like Twitter handle I've ever seen. I'm like, if you can have a little bit of a warped sense of humor. So Alamo, if you don't know, his legislative name is Peter, and I believe it's 5 Toes 275.
That's it, 5 Toes.
It's hilarious. It's like, for guys in our generation, it's like you got to have a little bit of that warped sense of humor. It's like you realize what it is. It's like
I already know where that's going.
That's awesome.
So here's something that's funny. So I serve in the legislature with a guy named Jay Collins. He's a former Green Beret. Don't tell him he's former, though. All right. We know how Green Berets are. And he also lost his leg. Right. And so when we all three hang out, we're like, man, we got like 4 good legs between us. You know what I mean? And nobody loves that. Right. Except our community. Our community is like, of course we would say that. And that's like just what makes us a little bit different. And, we really rag on each other really hard. It's like we're back in the barracks.
Yes. Yeah. Or you're in the team room or anything like that. You're just like, that mentality is so hard to lose. And it's like when you don't have it, you realize how much you miss it. And it's just like, So
but can I tell you why we do that? And I always
go for it.
I always tell I highlight that because they're always in suits and they're always in pants. And sometimes you can't see the scars that a veteran is walking with, right? And especially if they're mental. But like Jay and Pete both got hurt and then had to make the decision to amputate their legs. I mean, think about the mental that comes with, right? So it's good to not only like let people know that, and that's why we get into that through humor, but then we get to start the conversation and goes, look, the sacrifice these men made lives with them every single day. America, it has this, I always say this in different ways, but America has this way of dealing with combat that they're like, oh, look, we sent that dude. He's still alive. I mean, he's got a piece missing, but he's functional. And they think that just shows up, right? Like the resolve that those 2 men have, the mental health issues that they went through, the physical pain that they went through. And yes, like they do function as normal as you can with an amputation, and they thrive. It's just something that happened to them. But I don't want Americans to forget that the price that they pay it still to this day. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
they do.
For sure. And especially with something like an amputation, I mean, not always are the scars of service and sacrifice visible. And here it's like, It's right there. It's like you kind of can't not see that, and it's just like, okay. And and the thing that I find is just the resiliency of a lot of the veterans coming out of the 20-year GWAT and all that kind of stuff. It's like just the tenacity and the badassery of these people. It's like like there's this one guy, I think his name was Travis Mills. He's like, I had a lot of really good years with my legs and limbs. He's a quadruple amputee, and he's like, I've had like 6 to 8 really good years afterwards, and like I'm still good. Like I'm still able to go do some cool shit. It's like,
awesome.
all right,
it's really
absolutely.
It really are.
Absolutely, and it's just
the resiliency of the men that we served with. You know what I mean? Like,
yes, and it's kind of cool because like we look at at least for me, like when you talk about hero worship, you look at some of the folks that came before us, like the Vietnam vets and the guys that were in Gulf War and Desert Storm, and it's like now we can look, for me, I can look at some of these guys and it's apparent, but now it's more so. It's like these guys are some really like. Geez, like you gotta have a freaking wheelbarrow to carry those big ass brass balls around. Like, okay, that's badass. Absolutely.
It's really true what you're saying about like Vietnam veterans and those dudes. I just need like those dudes are a special kind of special. Like we don't understand them, what they went through. We think we do, and what they went through. What I understand of it is what motivates me to make sure that veterans today and in the future will get the due that they're due. Right.
Yes.
But
yes.
Think about like when you guys came home from the war, right? We loved you. We supported you. We made services around you. Nonprofits were all crazy to help you. And even today, where everybody's like, now they're all like, it's super cool. Thank you for your service. Right. Those days, they're like, take your crap off. Don't tell anybody you were over there. Start growing your hair immediately. Hide and be shamed. Like, think about you guys went through this trauma together, and that's what it is. It doesn't matter if it was, if you're admitted or not, you went through this shared traumatic experience, right? And then you come home and you pop smoke and you separate and you never see those dudes again, ever. There was no out processing together. There was no like Facebook to be able to communicate. There was a phone in the mail, and then if you got to it, and a lot of them back then, suck it up and drive on. That's
exactly. And it's kind of interesting. Alamo and I were talking about we were talking previously, like either this week or last week, and we were kind of thinking about, some show topics come up down the road for the season. And it's like, if you think about it, and not to give away too much, but if you think about it, you have, just the generational differences. You have like our generation, you have the guys in Vietnam, but you also have the guys in World War II.
Oh,
like you have like, for a good example, like you have like the Band of Brothers, like the guys that served in the 506. This is way before any of that stuff. And these guys kept in touch and were just like, and just so humble and just down to earth dudes about it. And like before you had any of the social media, they would still call. Like I was watching an interview with Michael Cudlitz, who played Bull Randleman, and he was talking about how he went and contacted his widow and was like trying to get some information. And they're just very nonchalant kind of dudes. But like, and even these actors get together that were in that series, and they have reunions because like they're just so intertwined now and bonded because of the experience they had portraying these giants of men that did these extraordinary things under extraordinary circumstances and whatnot. It's awesome. You need to hear more stories about that kind of stuff.
Absolutely. So listen, great. One of the things I tell people, especially our generation, is you see a Vietnam veteran, charge your way over there and tell them what they didn't hear before. Welcome home, brother. You know what I mean? We love you and thank you for what you did for us. You may think it's a nothing thing, right? But you're going to drive into their heart and their brain that they are loved. It's rather to get it now than, it's better that they're getting it, period. I wish they got it then. I can't control it, but we'll control now and remind them every day that they loved and that their sacrifice was not in vain.
And
I ended up actually having that.
Go ahead, Almo. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was saying I actually ended up having that happen to me recently, where I came across a Vietnam vet myself at a Wawa, go figure, of all places. And, he's sitting out there having his coffee, having his, morning little breakfast snack. And, I saw him and I was like, oh man, like he's sitting by himself. Is like, so I went over there and I said, hey, welcome home, brother. He's like, oh, good. Did you serve? I was like, I did, sir. He goes, oh yeah. I served in Vietnam, and da 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 da. And he just rambled. He started rambling, and it was like it was one of those situations where you get into it and you're like, whoa, like I genuinely like opened this guy up. Like
You did.
You
oh,
made
man.
his day. You
Like,
made his day.
yeah.
Absolutely.
You did. You totally did.
Yeah. So, okay. Back to the interview at hand. So let me ask you this question, Danny. When was the we do that. Like it's like just
It's better for me.
train of thought, dirt road.
I like that. So
It's all good. I mean, but I think that's kind of something that we all kind of experience from time to time. Just like, oh. So when did you first consider like the military? When was that becoming like an option for your future, for your reality, all that kind of stuff? When did that kind of first take shape?
Well, that's pretty neat. So when I was in high school, we kicked off Desert Storm 1, and I pulled my car over listening to the news that we had crossed LD, right? And I'm sitting there and I'm in my car almost crying, and then I started crying. Oh my God, I'm gonna get drafted. I'm gonna die. I remember this very, very clearly, right? Fast forward, I'm in college, freshman year. I watched Somalia happen on my TV, and I remember punching the TV. I remember punching the TV, and I'm watching this dude's body get dragged, and I was like, "This is our country. Like, how is this happening to us?" And right there, like the spark. I mean, right there was like this spark. And you want to know something super cool? And I know this is so.
Yeah.
So I become extremely close with a gentleman that was in that battle. He was in Delta at that time, and they asked me to come to a reunion, which I felt completely out of place. I mean, like you know how we talk about like our heroes and stuff like that, and the people that motivated us. So at this Mogadishu reunion were all these dudes that were in CAG and all these dudes that were in the Ranger Battalion, and like they start saying names, and I'm like, oh. I've read about that guy, and I've heard about that guy, and I know what that guy did in the battle, right? And then out of nowhere, Mark says, what we were doing was we were reading everyone's name that passed away, and then we were toasting to them, right? That was their way. So Mark says, Daniel Alvarez, please come to the microphone. And I was like, listen, like I'm not worthy of carrying their ruck, you know what I mean? In my brain, right? And he's like, please read. So there was a script of what to read and who he read it. And he, by just simple chance, had me read the name and the bio of the dude that got dragged that day. Dude, I felt chills. I was like, I'd gone full freaking circle. That's the dude who got my fire going. So I failed out of college on my first try, right? I was never meant to be a college dude. I went back to Miami. I had gone to school in New Orleans, maybe enjoyed myself too much. I'm just maybe. And then gone back to Miami with my tail tucked between my leg. And I enlisted as a 12 Bravo. I just walked into a place and I was pissed. I walked in and enlisted. The guy's like super happy. I was like, just give me whatever papers I got to sign. So it was a delayed entry program, right? So, you know, like you go to basic in the summer. So that was in December that I did all the paperwork. And I go to Florida to go back to college. I got in somehow. I go to Florida, go back to college, and I'm walking past this building, and this dude in camouflage says, you should join the Army. I said, sir, I was all proud. I was like, I did. You know, I'm a tough guy. And he's like, well, explain it. So I explained it. And he said, well, you can make more money, and we'll pay for your books and your food while in college. And I was like, come again? So, right.
Please tell me more.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Tell me more. So I said, well, it's too late. I already signed up. He goes, don't worry about it. I'll switch your basic trainings. And what do I know? Like, I'm just some kid, right? So about 3 months later, I get a call. I don't know who this dude was. He's like, this is Sergeant so-and-so. Is this Private Alvarez? I was like, what's a Private Alvarez? I legitimately was like, what is going on? And he goes, you're AWOL. You've missed this many meetings. I was like, sir. So we were in a little bit of trouble, but it all got worked out. I went to basic training at Fort Knox. ROTC sent me to do that, right? That was to become an officer through ROTC. It's a 4-year program, And then you can catch up on those 2 years by between your sophomore and junior year, going to like a full-fledged basic training, and they send us for Fort Knox. In my mind, you become a better officer because you're trained by enlisted guys and you go literally through the same program, although I would contend they were probably softer on us, but they say they're not, right?
And now that I think about it, thinking back to some of the guys, I remember we had a couple of cadets that went through and they were enlisted and went through, got their blue cord and everything and all that kind of jazz, and they were just like, "Yep, I'm going back and I can wear this," and finished up their stuff.
I always appreciated those guys a whole lot more because you have a context for how the Army actually works, right? And when you're a young officer, the officer corps tells you you are the greatest thing since sliced bread. And in reality, you don't even know how to make bread. Forget about slicing it, right? So it is an amazing leadership program. Look, compared to what most civilians get in the real world when it comes to leadership, ROTC or West Point, hell, even the NCO leadership trainings that you get, those are head and shoulders in time, depth, and tactics and technicality better than anything you become or get, I should say, as a civilian. So it's a good school. You just need the real world OJT, which is, when you get your first platoon and you're praying to God that you have a good platoon sergeant who's squared away, because that platoon sergeant, the first one, will mold that LT for the rest of their life. If you've got a dirt bag of a platoon sergeant, which that there's tons of them, right? And they'll be lazy and they won't do their job because an officer is different, right? And the way their roles are different. It just took me a long time to learn that because I always thought I was a joke. So.
I got you. And that's funny
that
too.
Was the
like
mindset of one of my old LTs.
Yeah.
One of my LTs was actually from Ranger Bat, so he was, dude. It was like, hey, how's it going?
Squared away.
Like, oh, sir. He's like, eh. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So I had a good sergeant tell me, hey, guy, you're getting too close. He's like, look, you love your men. You can see it, but you have to love them from far away. And see, then I got pissed. That's when I got pissed at that major who stopped me on the campus, because what I didn't realize is that the officer world is completely different. You have to train like them. You have to be like them. You have to be able to do the same things. But it turns out they don't want you to be one of them, right? Because you're the technical guy who leads and manages, and then the whoas are the ones doing the do. You know what I mean? They're the ones going in. And for a guy like me, that was heartbreaking because I wanted to be the guy in the door. I wanted to be the guy to jump. I wanted to do all those things. So we ended up having a good balance of it, you know what I mean? But it was a very hard lesson for me, to be able to keep a distance from the thing that you love. I just showed them I loved them by training them hard and caring about them and protecting them. Really, that was really my goal.
And that's interesting how you say that. A lot of folks that have, I've talked to that were officers that, were worth their weight, in awesomeness, say, yeah, I protected my guys from all the BS and all the nonsense and the stupid barracks games that they play in garrison. It's like, we're not doing that. We're going to go do some high speed shit. We're going to go out and freaking do what we need to do, get our job, do the job that we can do the best we can. And then go home and, show these guys that they're not just, going to get chewed up by the machine. So,
well, Mac, the thing is, and this is what I always implored, like whenever you would see good enlisted folks that had it, you could see it, then you invested your time in that person to get them to move up so that they could then influence the maximum amount of people. And so then there would be people that are like, oh, they were good, great NCOs, and you tried to recruit them to become officers so that they could then take that and maximize the influence and then for the benefit of the Army, which is, the thing that we cared about. So.
Absolutely. So, okay. So correct me if I'm wrong, but you commissioned out of University of Florida.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you became a second lieutenant out of there. And then what was your first duty station?
Went to Fort Benning. Then my first duty station was Korea.
Nice.
I volunteered to go to Korea because that was the only thing that was going on. Right. And then they also promised you at that time that if you went to Korea that you could pick where you wanted to go after when you came back. So another one of the greatest memories of my time was I come back, we get our phone call, like there's like 10 lieutenants in a row where we call back to America, and our assignments officer's like, Alvarez, you're going back to Fort Benning basic training. I was like, no, ma'am. And it was a ma'am, which was weird, right? Because we were infantry guys and there was no women in the infantry at that time, but our assigning officer was a woman. And I said, ma'am, you've got the wrong Alvarez there, because this Alvarez ain't going to basic training. She says, next. And I was like, I hang the phone over and I'm still rage caging, you know, like I'm like trying to like hold it together.
This was not the agreement that was said to me.
That's exactly right. So then the next lieutenant was like this West Pointer who, you know, like if you go to West Point, it's like for college, you give up your life you for 4 years and you don't even get retirement credit for it, you know? So there's a lot of benefits there. I'm not trying to like minimize it, but he had been in the Army for 4 years already, right? Then went to all the same training, and he got married in the middle of it, hadn't seen his wife because he went to Korea. So the only thing shooting at the time, the only people shooting at the time was Kosovo, right? And so that's where I was trying to go, right? We were trying to volunteer to go there. And it was Fort Riley was the next one in line, and he got Fort Riley. And they're like, and your unit's going to deploy like within months of you getting there. I said, give me the phone. I said, hey, ma'am. Hey, how you doing? It's me again. The guy you mislabeled. Why don't you just put my name in his name and we switch him so he can be with his wife and go be like a trade-off, and I will go, and I want to go where he's going. And she's like, next. So then I had to go get like every colonel I knew to get every drug deal possible. So they had
That's right, yeah.
Listen to this. I know this one's might be hard to believe. I am 5'7", and I had a colonel almost get me into the old guard in Washington, D.C. I would do any. I hate dress blues. I hate pomp and circumstance, but to avoid going to basic training, I would do anything. So it was like this close. And then like the colonel over there was like, but this says he's 5'7". And I was like, so they said no. I volunteered to go to the 509th at JRTC. So we would be op 4. I just didn't, I wanted to train. I wanted to be with the Huas. I wanted to work. Nope. So Fort Benning it was, but my colonel got me to the airborne school. They took me, and then that was where my last duty assignment ended up being. I thought I would retire or die in the Army. I'm not kidding. And this what shows you life does what it does. I met a girl, we fell in love, and listen, I love my country more than anything. I don't need to prove that to anyone, but the order is family. Right. And then, right. So at the time, I applied to the FBI, and that was going to be my transition. I told her I was never going to be a civilian ever. I got into the FBI, and like the week before we're going, we kind of got an ultimatum. You have to choose your family or your service. And, I doubled down on my family, which I thought it was a good investment then at the time. And then just life since then, you just figure out how to, serve.
Navigate the minefield that is called life. Absolutely. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I know we all have our challenges. So.
Yeah.
So you ended up at airborne school.
Yep.
And that's where you ended up being on the Silver Wings. So tell us a little bit about that and how that went. That to me, I'm like, I didn't know that was a thing. Then I'm like, that sounds awesome. Like,
yeah. So I didn't know it was a thing. I was like, I'm walking around Fort Benning thinking I'm a little cool guy with my little freaking beret that takes about 6 hours just to put on, just so I could go from one building to another. And I was the HHC XO.
Be honest. How long did it take you to shave it?
3 weeks. Okay, 3 weeks. But we got it down. We got it
there
down.
You go. There you go.
God. So weird.
Some crusty old sergeant major might be watching the show going, that's the right damn answer. Who?
That is, he is. And I had good sergeant major teach me how to do it too.
There you go. NCO Corps, man, backbone of the Army. Absolutely.
So HHC ran the entire maintenance and operations of the school. We also ran Pathfinder and Jump Master School, and then the Silver Wings were under us. And my captain at the time, which I can't even remember his name, so I don't want him to watch this and think I'm insulting him. But he was not a hands-on guy, right? And I was. So I remember being at staff meetings where like everyone's like, talking, and I'm just supposed to be sitting there like taking notes as a good XO. They'd be like, "Hey Alvarez, so what are we doing for this one?" And I was like, I'll get you after. Like because like he was a good
Roger.
dude.
Catch me after the meeting. We'll discuss.
That was the answer all the time. So
there you go.
So when the Silver Wings came, they were very, very smart at the time. There was a colonel that was the XO of all of Benning at the time, and he had it in for that team, and so he wanted to get rid of them. This is, by the way, the demo team. This is the oldest demonstration team in the Army. This predates the Golden Knights. They are the reason the Golden Knights exist. So when Fort Benning, had their parachute, experimental parachute platoon, that's how airborne got invented. They then go, this is something we should show off. And they had a jump team. So the oldest jump team, the most historical jump team, and this guy wants to axe them. So they brought all the officers in and they gave them demo jumps, familiarization jumps on squares. And, we'd only ever jump circles, right? And rounds. And I landed first first time I let go of that helicopter, my heart, I could see it beating out of my mouth, because, like when you jump on a normal airborne jump, the airplane is moving and you jump into the slipstream, you don't have time to even think about it. It just blasts you. And then all of a sudden it's quiet and you're like, oh, I'm not that big of a wussy, even though I was about 10 seconds ago. You know what I mean? When you have to let go of that helicopter and it's hovering and there's no blast, it is freaky deaky. Okay. So we did it. I thought I was the coolest guy in the world. Here I am, like driving a square in the middle of Fort Benning with like all the civilians going, "Oh my God, look at that cool guy." And I'm like, "Hi, look at me. I'm the cool guy." Right. And when I landed, and we were all done, and they said goodbye to everyone, I went up to the team sergeant and I said, "Big Sarge, let me tell you what we're going to do, right? I am joining your team." And he's like, I had 0 jumps. Well, make that 1, okay? I had 1 square jump. And he's like, "Sir, that's
how many jumps you got there, paratrooper?"
That's exactly what he did. He goes, "Sir, that's not
one. Paratrooper.
He says, "That's never going to happen." And this guy's name is Greg Windmiller, and right now he still exists. We're still good friends. He is.
Is he the one that runs the school where you went and did that you did the stuff on? I saw the stuff on Facebook, and I was like, that looks amazing.
Yeah,
you got the helmet on with the full face shield. You're just like sitting there floating. I'm like, you're just like dancing in the sky. I'm like, that is so terrifying and just so amazing. I am so jelly right now. Damn it, man.
Well, he's
being a straight leg sometime. Jeez.
I have a picture of him getting his award for his 1,000th jump. He just retired from the Army like 16 years later with like 17,000 jumps. Think about what I'm saying, okay? He's like a world. He joined the Golden Knights. Yeah, he joined the Golden Knights. He was phenomenal. Everyone loves him. If you say his name in the community, everyone knows him. So I remember telling him, "Hey, I'm joining." And I said, "Here's the deal. I'll take off my rank when I'm on the team. I am the lowest ranking everything. I will carry the water. I will carry the bags. I will set up the drop zone, whatever it takes." And then they all huddle together and they're like, "This dude's got a big mouth." Like he's got a big mouth. And so there's this job that nobody wants to do, right? It's the jumping narrator. So you're the first one to jump in, you land, you take off all your stuff, and you're in uniform. You put on your beret. How you doing? And then you get a microphone and you start the script, right?
And you're doing crowd work.
And you're doing crowd work, right? Exactly.
Nice. Okay.
Right. So they took me up on it, and I jumped into my first demo because you need a D license to do this in the stadiums, like anywhere else. It's a professional license off a military post. But hey, we're the Army, try it. And so On post, I jumped into the airborne bleachers at like jump number 76. Like what I mean is the area, not the bleachers. I landed, I didn't fall. I took the microphone, and that was hard as woodpecker lips. I'll tell you that. You could have shot me in the chest a bit, but I didn't even know you hit me. Yep, that's exactly right. So we did that. That was a highlight, Fort Benning. We did a lot of good work there, and then the marriage story came in, and I joined the civilian world reluctantly. Just waiting for the FBI to call, and they did. So, and I didn't go because I was a loser back then. Thank you very much.
But you know what? Listen. Don't be too hard on yourself, because as a lot of people I've had a lot of wise people. Our good friend Dr. G. I've had a lot of people be like, listen, you get to being older and wiser by being young and a dumbass. So you have to go through that thing, and you can't just skip. And that's what a lot of people nowadays. I'm so adamant about this. Like, you cannot skip that step. You have to be young, you have to be stupid, and you have to be bruised and broken a little bit from the hard knock lessons of life, and that's how you surpass that and get into maturity. And like, you just can't skip that step.
Listen,
people want to go to that.
Gino is who you're talking about, right? And
yeah, absolutely.
He and I, when we go do our motivational speaking together in our leadership talks, I literally say, you're looking at one of the biggest failures in life. Like, you may think you've hired someone that is successful, but I'm only successful because I have gotten my teeth kicked in so many times. I mean, I already told you I failed out of college, and I'm a lawyer now. And so I have no idea how I got there, to be honest. You know what I mean? Like, I thought I was going to be like a diesel mechanic. I swear to God, I was like, I don't know, I'll open a lawn business, all of which are honorable, good work. You know what I mean? I just didn't have college in my plans, and I just got a free second chance because somebody looked out for me. So getting your teeth kicked in is a big deal, and everyone should do it on a regular basis. In fact, I mean it when I tell you, is when I'm doing too good, I start to worry. I start to freak out. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, here comes a big fall, or I'm losing my edge, my hunger. I need my drive. So.
I had an experience where I was working, where I met Gino. We were working at that place, and I had one of the owners come up to me, and he's like, "Hey, Mac, you're doing a great job." I'm like, "Can you just tell me that I suck as an employee, and like everything is on fire? Like, I can handle that. I don't handle I don't want." It's literally just like, the spotlight's on me. I can't handle that. Like, just tell me something's busted. I can go fix it. I can produce positive results.
Yeah.
But I mean, and this gentleman, his name's Greg. Greg, just one of the most sincerely nice people in a professional setting. He's just like, "Hey, you're doing a really good job. I appreciate that." I'm like, "Wow, that's what that feels like." Okay, cool. Nothing bad about Greg. But I was like the guy you call when stuff is falling apart, broken, needs to be replaced. There's an issue I have to fix. Okay, I can handle that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, it took me a long time to get comfortable with positive praise and stuff. But so let me ask you this. So, you kind of decided the family aspect. So, what was it like transitioning out of the Army? What did that look like? What were the kind of the issues you had that popped up from that? What was like, what did that whole thing look like?
It was horrible. It was horrific. So, in my day, so I got out in 2001. Think about this. The out processing village was like 3 buildings that were like the old like barracks from like World War II. You're an infantry guy, so when you go to the VA section, you're already annoyed, and they're like, "Is anything wrong with you?" I was like, "No." That was the dumbest thing in the world, right? Like, I had broken things and backs jacked up, but nobody tells you all this, right? And so you're just trying to out process as fast as possible. And then like from one day you're part of the team with a purpose. I didn't know how much I got paid. I don't know I just wanted to go to work, and the work was different. And I got to do it with my friends. It was awesome. I jumped out of stuff. We fixed stuff. We attacked stuff. And the next thing you know, I'm like, while waiting for the FBI, I became a pharmaceutical rep because I needed money, right? And I didn't know how not to do it. So I turned in my camo for a suit. And I remember like a year and a half into it, I don't think I recognized it then, but I was as close to depressed as possible. There's one day I'm looking down at my pants my pants are at my ankle, right? I'm trying to put my suit on, and I literally cannot will myself to pull my pants on. And I was like, what is happening, right? I'm an A typer, you know. I'm the guy who fixes things for other people. I'm the guy who you call when you need help. And I'm looking down and I'm like, pull your pants up, guy. Pull them up. All you got to do is, and finally I got him up, and I came home and I talked to my wife at the time, and I was like, hey, something's got to change. I mean, something's got to change. And there were some big changes that came, you know what I mean? We ended up splitting up. I went to law school in that time afterwards, thinking that's how I was going to replace the income. I thought at first I hated being a pharmaceutical rep because I had no purpose in that. It was just about money. I learned along the way that I'm not money driven. I'm satisfaction driven. I want to help others, you know, and that to me is actually, so my middle brother, didn't serve. He focused on business, and the dude is like a billionaire, right? And every time he sees me going to do something that is like create another nonprofit, help some dudes fly over here, he's like, if you only put that effort into making money, you'd make more money than me. And I was like, I know, but it doesn't drive me. My little brother, the third one of us, he's a combat infantryman vet from Iraq. He's now a lieutenant in the police department down in Miami-Dade. You know, he's a hard charger too. Love that kid. And so he's very, very, very similar as well, like not money focused. So I knew it was I felt maybe it was our type, you know? So I went to law school, and everyone thinks lawyers are the coolest thing since sliced bread. I was like, oh, okay, if you say so, you know, if you say so. But you can do a lot of good as an attorney. This is what I found out, right? So you can people actually think that attorneys are cool and they know what they're talking about. So I was like, okay, well, let's use that to better our community, to help others. And so I dove into volunteer work and service to try to fill the gap that I was missing from being around the boys and serving and having purpose, you know?
Having that purpose and that drive and that initiative. And
so really what was missing is purpose. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, and really serving my family should have been enough, but I want to be honest, it wasn't, you know. I took care of all my family's needs. My kids wanted for nothing. Their dad was there, you know what I mean? So we knew that. And then in 2017, I mean, hell, I even went and taught, you know, I had my law practice. I taught at the University of Tampa for about 9 years. Then there's a new sheriff in Hillsborough County where I live. And he comes along and says, hey, can you help me get out into the community? And then, you know, and I would help him with like political or governmental stuff too. And I said, absolutely. And boys, the second I shut down my law firm and went to work over there, those are our people. Those are our kind of people. When you say we have first responders, they're like us. They just have a different uniform and they serve every day, right? They're doing their job every day. I was home. I was back home. The deal I made with him was, I don't want to be in the office. I'm not going to be a lawyer for you. So he made me his chief communications guy. And he said, just tell our story and you can do anything you want. Boys, you don't tell Daniel Alvarez you have free reign to the 11th largest sheriff's office in the nation and think we're not going to get into some stuff.
I remember some of this stuff because you would have like control over some of the social media accounts, and like you would show like some different departments. You went out there with the bomb squad guys working in aviation, hanging off the side of a helicopter with your GoPro. I'm like, I said, that is freaking cool. I mean, you're like, that is the best. I mean, if you boil it down, you're the hype man, bringing in all these attention to all these people. And it's like, these are the people that live in our community that are freaking awesome. This is what they do.
Absolutely.
I mean, holy crap. It's amazing. So good.
I probably pushed the limit on the things we were supposed to do. But, you know, two things. You guys are Army guys. You know that if you get to a unit and you're not willing to put yourself out there, you'll never earn the trust of those men and women. And I wasn't a cop, right? And so I was already like one level down in credibility. So I show up and I'm the dude and I would tell them, listen, we're at a point where if we don't tell our story, people will tell it for us. And that's where the negativity stuff comes about around cop world, right? Like, There's 99.9% of all those cops are good, but just like the military, cops are a reflection of the society that they come from. So sometimes you get like dudes who aren't so great, you know what I mean? But those dudes get weeded out. I'm telling you, those dudes get weeded out. So, man, they're like, hey, you want to try out for the bomb team? Yes, I do. They're like, hey, we have this tracker school. Do you want to do? I was like,
I remember that one. Yeah, you ran out with the guys that were tracking out in the woods and stuff.
Took a human tracking course. This was cool. The SWAT team was just learning how to fast rope, and they're like, would you like to get certified? I was like, I don't know. Let me see if I can fit it in my schedule. Yes, sir. Let's get it done. So I got to fast rope on top of Strawberry Crest High School. That's like one of the highlights of my career over there. But along the way, it was super long nights bonding with these men. I would try and ride along whenever I could. And man, I was burning it at both ends. We were no longer in our 20s. You could tell, like when you're doing this as a 40-year-old dude, it was rough. We'd have like a murder scene at like 2 a.m, and I'd still have to report for a full day of work the next day. You just suck it up, but it started to add up. But I'll say something.
So let me ask you this question. Did you find it pretty easy with coming from that military background and also of that mentality, the mindset to kind of integrate into that? Was it harder for those folks? Like you said, it was maybe a step down where, you're kind of coming at a disadvantage. Did that help you out a little bit to kind of come in and just be like, hey, I'm down for whatever. Let's freaking go.
That's it. So I think that I have a thing about me that I just don't care what other people think about me so much when I'm on mission, right? So my mission was to prove to them that I was worthy to stand next to them. So I was going to do whatever it took. If they were out till 3 a.m, I was out till 3 a.m. If they were doing something, I'm doing something. And the truth of the matter is, so I had like a civilian rank. So like in the police world, if your stitching or your badges are gold, then you're in like the chain of command. And if they're silver, you're in like, let's just call it like in the enlisted rank, right? Let's just say it like that way. So I had gold stitching and I refused to do what gold stitching does. So if they were cleaning up, I would clean up. And if they were breaking down tables, I break down tables. It didn't matter because it was always about mission first. As long as we were accomplishing that and we were moving the ball forward, we would work out together. We would go to weddings. It was awesome. It literally was like coming home. And this is one reason that I love those people more than anything. And I will stand up for them. Even in politics, I'll take all the barbs that you can throw at me because those people are worth standing up for because they are like the best of our society. But in a world today where, it's all about like Instagram and how cool you look. They're not Instagram. They're out there risking their lives. And when we would deploy and say, hey, we might not come home, that was an event we knew we were going into. Their lives are every single day. And look, we often overlook firefighters, right? And firefighters go out and see all the trauma, do all the crazy stuff, where a cop might only see 1 or 2 things in their zone, and it's still bad. It's still bad. But think that firefighters for those areas see them all because they're the only ones that get called to in that zone, right? So the cumulative effect on those dudes is real. So for me, firefighters and cops, no one's going to get in between me and them. And no one is ever going to tell me that they're not worth fighting for. And just like veterans, our debt as a society to those men and women will never get paid. You're never going to pay them enough, and you're never going to give them enough retirement. You're never going to give them health benefits to satisfy me, to signify thank you for what they've done. Period.
I get that.
Okay.
Go ahead, Alan.
My ADHD brain's going. Okay, so I got a question. So, okay. I'm actually really liking this part of the conversation because I'm gonna backtrack a little bit though. Go for it. You described how I feel, I would say 90%, if not like 100% of the guys that get out, like ended up feeling like that sense of like purposelessness, and that sense of like, what the am I getting up every day and doing? Like, this is not me. Why am I doing this? Like, what would be your advice for guys like ourselves? Because I know I've gone through it myself. I've damn sure gone through it. Shit, there's days where I still go through it. But what would be your advice for guys that need like that kind of like extra push, or like that like they need to find something, to help them get out of that
That's a
state
good
of mind?
question.
It's a great
Very good question.
And the thing is, I think the first thing is to realize it's a real struggle bus. Like it is there. You could take probably 15 classes to get ready, and they're telling you right before you transition out, this is gonna suck. This is gonna suck. It's gonna suck. And you'll be like, I'm good, no problem. But in reality, until you're facing yourself alone and your thoughts alone, and when you get up and you're the one that has to motivate yourself to do everything, that's when you really are going to have to come to terms with yourself. So what do I think? What do I prescribe? First, the people that have come before, you, me, talking about this and normalizing the feelings is one of the first things that we have to do. And you're starting to see it in the veteran community a whole lot more, right? Like, hey guys, it sucked. It was hard to get in. I had some weird thoughts sometimes. Even if you have no mental, like, I'm not talking about PTSD, I'm not talking about TBI, I'm not talking about cumulative concussive. What I'm talking about is even if you just said, man, I'm sad, this sucks, I miss it. That's normal. Let's get to the point where we say that's completely normal. The second part we have to realize is we are purpose-driven people, okay? We need a target. And you went away and you got out, and then all of a sudden you're like, now what? Right? Now what? So if you don't stop moving, right? And if you stop moving, then you're only harming yourself. Pick a new mission. And it could be saving puppies. It could be, I don't know, starting your business, anything in between, but we need purpose. Okay. That's what we do. Right. Okay. So can we back up real quick? So I have so Peter, we already introduced you two. Okay. The other buddy of ours, he was in CAG too. And I won't mention his name, but he is very high level, had access to all of the high medication, all the high treatment, all the high support, all the high everything. And, a year ago, this dude that we all know killed himself, and it jacked me up. And I didn't even know that guy that well. But when I tell you it jacked me up, I call him and I'm like, because I'm like nervous. They did kind of the same thing. And I'm like, hey, bub, you okay? And he goes, Danny, listen, at some point you have to recognize that we all as men and women, we have to get and reach out to the help. And there's nothing anyone can do if they don't do that. We have to accept that. We have to offer it. We have to be the support. We have to be there. But deep down inside, that person has to take that first step. And it doesn't matter, guys. It doesn't matter what we do, right? It doesn't matter what we do. Now, let's pause one more time, because my goal, okay, as a state representative is to take what you asked me, okay, and recognize that there is some of us that don't have any mental health issues, but many of us that do, even if we don't recognize it, right? Because the data that's coming out now shows that if the concussive effects of even shooting guns accumulates, right, and begins to jostle your mind, right? So what we're finding is at the front of the pre-cortex, right, which is where anxiety comes from, depression comes from, PTSD, TB, like those things, right? Even gosh, what am I talking about? What do kids have? And I can't remember. See, this is what happened. This is my problem, right? This is how I know I need it. What is it that autism, right? Even autism. What happens is in the prefrontal cortex of your brain, if a normal brain is like this and if the channels of your brain are open, for us and those of us that have concussive effects, TBIs, PTSD, there's this disconnect right here in the front of your brain, right? So there's this new therapy. We discovered it. Pete discovered it with his buddy who helped SEAL Team 6 guys get sent to it. there's this new therapy that they map your brain, your exact brain, to figure out exactly where it's muddled. Where are the signals not getting through? You wear a helmet. It's about 10 to 20 treatments, 5 to 10 minutes each, and they send signals through your brain. The positive effects of these treatments, non-pharmaceutical, non-chemical, non-dependent, any of these things, your sleep is improving, which is it's desperately important, right? And your thoughts are clear. We're talking about these. So these 6 guys that were in SEAL Team 6 were getting med boarded. Antipsychotics, antidepressants, Ambien, self-medicating with alcohol, the entire litany of stuff. Last ditch effort, they got sent to this Wave Neuro stuff. They come back, they did not get med boarded. They did not. So the SOCOM Surgeon General goes, I don't believe it. Sends like 10 of his worst dudes from SOCOM over to California where these people were based. They come back and the guy's like, wow, really? Wow. So much so that the SOCOM helps fund an FDA study at a university in Texas, and then COVID happens and it pauses, right? So that FDA study, it's actually already indicated for depression. So they need to get it indicated by the FDA for PTSD and TBI, right? And that's probably like 2 or 3 years away. So let me tell you what we're doing here in the state of Florida. And this, to me, is bad to the bone. We are currently trying to get funded. When I say trying, because there's a budgetary process and it looks really good, like it's going to happen this year. We're going to fund this program that'll have 5 pilot stations throughout the state of Florida. And if you're a first responder or a veteran, you show them your badge or you show them your DD-214, you get to sit in the chair for free. The bill goes to the state of Florida, and we save lives. We're doing this. We're going to do this for a couple of years until the FDA approves it, and then you're going to get it through your insurance. You don't need us anymore. But guys, I got to tell you something. I cannot go to one more damn funeral, right? I cannot take one more report of one of our brothers, whether they're a cop, firefighter, or veteran. I just don't have it in me. Right. So what we're doing is, you know how you, Alamo, you were talking about like, how do we fix it? So as I was feeling sorry for myself, and I was, okay, I'm looking for purpose. I dove into veterans work and helping my community, charity after charity, and it just wasn't enough. Right. So, but I have a big mouth and I have a strong will. What can I do? Right. So when I ran for office, okay, I said veterans and cops will be my calling card. Okay. And that's what we're doing. Right now, we're passing some of the most comprehensive veterans friendly packages that you can imagine. Everything from, and some of them will pass and some of them won't, but I've got 8 years to get there and get it done. Everything from extending the homestead exemption to Purple Heart winners to make them just like 100% disabled, increasing a disabled veteran from exemption from $5,000 to $10,000, which essentially means you pay no taxes on your property tax. We've got veterans transitions programs right now that are increasing. We're making Veterans for Florida, which is the agency that helps run this. We're giving them more money, more purpose, more direction. Hey, we're even going to cover. We're even going to cover.
We just had a question for you in the comment section, Danny. He said
we have a comment section.
This is Mr. Yes,
we do.
This is Mr. Brian.
You guys are very high speed.
He says, will it be open for current guardsmen?
I don't know. That's a good question. I know the way we wrote it was for veterans and first responders because, like right now, for example, when you're in, you have access to all this help. And when you get out, everybody here knows it. They cut you off, right?
Right.
Or the cocktail that the VA gives you is let's drug you up, let's numb you out, and we know that's not working. I would contend that cocktail that they're giving is what's helping drive people to put a gun in their mouth, right? But to the gentleman that just asked that question, I don't know the answer. But as we run the program and expand it. Look, I think it's 3 years to the FDA indication. Maybe in that time we can get guardsmen to be included as well. But speaking of the guard, we are funneling tons of money to the Florida National Guard right now, and we're making Camp Blanding. Did you guys know this? Camp Blanding is as busy or busy of a training base as Fort Bragg. Did you know that?
I believe that. I mean,
No
that's kind of, my bailiwick. Alamo being on active duty, I was in the Guard for 6 years. Like, and it's so funny, dude. I can remember looking at those barracks. I'm like, yeah, these barracks have been here since World War II. They're internment barracks and stuff. But also, you have, I mean, like, no joke, dude. Like the long, just a long hallway, cinder block barrack. You know what I'm talking about, Macho?
Oh, I know. I've been to Blanding. I trained at Blanding for a couple of times.
But the fact also that you have all the SF guys, because my old company that I was with Charlie, second of the 124. They relocated. They used to be in Orlando at the headquarters, the battalion headquarters armory. They have since detached and then moved off, and they're now at the armory up in Ocala, which is also a special forces armory. So that's pretty awesome. But yes, I would imagine that Blanding stays pretty hella busy. I mean, with all the stuff going on there.
So we're actually
our guy in the comments section just said they're renovating a lot of it.
They are. So we actually funded. Brigades move as and should train as brigades. So we're funding these brigade areas. I mean, when you see the plans, it's ridiculous. Huge chow hall in the center, huge meeting hall, modern barracks around there, motor pools around so that the unit can come in together, right? Because right now, when we go do a brigade movement, right, or brigade training, you got to go outside to Mississippi. The cost, the training time, the loss of travel time, the loss of training through travel time. Here's the other thing that we're trying to do. We're trying to up the number allowed of the National Guard, because right now the National Guard is literally sucking wind. The average time of deployment or of activation for a Florida Guardsman is 90 days. Okay. Remember when you saw the commercial, it was 2 days a month. 2 weeks,
1 weekend a month, 2 weeks in the middle of the year. Yeah, that's absolutely right.
For the reserve, that's a true statement, right? For the Guard, that is not a true statement, right? We're deploying our dudes on average 90 days. So if we're going to do that, because I don't foresee that changing anytime soon, we need more of them, or we're going to burn them out, and we're going to fill the ranks of the reserve with trained Florida Guardsmen. You know what I mean? And that's just not what we want. So we're making Florida the most veteran and military friendly state there is, right? By protecting them.
Hell yeah.
We, Jay Collins and I are running a program right now to fund what's going to be a model veteran center at USF. So it'll be like a dedicated built building. It'll house all the ROTCs, the Veterans Transition Services, the VA will be there. The counselors will be there, all in one area.
Does that also include like the Office for Veteran Success, like that
will be in there as well? So it'll be like it'll be a shining light for veterans, and when you go there, you should be like, this is for veterans, right? And that's what I want. And our goal is to do that at USF, make them the model, and then go UF, FSU, FIU, all the other ones, and continue this drawing of veterans to Florida. So that's the goal, at least,
Gotcha.
Yes.
No, I mean, and that sounds great. I mean, and I will say, it's funny you mentioned talking about how brigades should all come in and fight as one. When I separated out of the Guard in 2009, we were just now getting to the point where we had forward observers from field artillery units getting assigned to us. Like, okay, you're going to this unit, you're going to this unit for your drill, and doing it and actually working organically with the rifle platoons. Right. So we had FOs and stuff. So we were actually doing like some pretty, which I'm sure on active duty is like, they're just like, why wouldn't you do this? This is how we do it. Right. But, it was kind of a little bit of a stretch back
world,
then.
It's just a complete.
Exactly.
Hey, you were Charlie 124. I was Alpha 124. That's where I first.
Leesburg, yeah.
In Leesburg.
Yeah.
Boy, they sure taught me how to listen. That's where I learned about Chog, Pogue, and everything in between. When those boys would deploy, I was like that super hua that they're like, oh, we're going to the field. So I show up with all my gear in my rug.
Oh, like super hua?
Yeah, there you go. A super tactical, and they're like, "This cadet is done."
What are you doing?
So the first night I was there, I was like, "Oh, I'll sleep on the ground because that's what we infantry guys do." When we got to Blanding the first time, these dudes, big tents, big netting, big coolers. I was like, okay, this is one way to arm me. This is one way to arm me.
Our guy in the comments section just shouted out his unit. He's Bravo 3, the 116th.
What's up?
That's
What's
Avon
up,
Park.
brother? Thanks for your service, my brother.
So, okay. This is, man, I'm so stoked when we do these bits, man. These not bits, but like when we do these episodes, they're so awesome. So, okay, so post-military career, you've had a lot of stuff going on. You were a lawyer, you were a law professor at UT for a little while. I know you ran for a seat on the bench for judgeship.
Yeah.
That ended up not working out, unfortunately. Again, talking about failure. Failure is okay.
Yeah,
it's all good. Failure is a good thing. So then, how does and kind of, it's probably not too much of a stretch to think about, but what was the kind of the fruition of you going, okay, hey, I could run for a representative? Because I will say something that I'm super proud of our veteran community is how a lot of them are starting to go, okay, so the issue might be at the legislative level or whatnot. Let's kind of, infiltrate into that and make a positive effect and not just be like, hey, all politicians suck. Because it's not the case. There's a lot of stereotypes out there. War Daddy Withers in the chat. All right. But yeah, I mean, like there's a lot more of folks in our generation that are kind of like you have that one guy, Dan Crenshaw in Texas. The guy that has like the eye patches. I was like, okay, I just whatever law you want passed, sure. You got an eye patch on. You look like a badass dude. Like, okay.
Hey, he was just here in Gasparilla with Jay. Remember the Jay Collins outside? They like because they're friends. They were ridiculous. So Crenshaw with his eye in pirate gear, and then Jay removes his super like articulated awesome leg and puts on one of those peg legs like a pirate. So Jay and Crenshaw are running around Gasparilla looking like freaking actual pirates. You can't make this up. You can't make
that is awesome.
Can't make it up.
Wow, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall for that shit.
Oh my god!
But see, one of the things that we were taught, at least I was taught in the military, is if you're going to complain about it, go fix it. And if you want to go fix it, tell me what the plan is before you complain about it, right? So that I think is what what you're seeing is that on a different level. When we are in the military, right, we are the implementers of policy. And I will tell you there is a transition that's a little bit strange that goes into effect when you are the creator of policy, because now you are thinking about what it's like to receive this. And you say to yourself, man, I've had this really great idea. That would suck on the ground, right? That it's wonderful in concept, but it doesn't work on the dude on the ground, right? So let's work through that. And the other part too is just to have a voice. You may think even the most well-intentioned civilian that is on our side, right? That's on the side of cops, because they've never been there and done it, they're losing a layer of knowledge and they think they're helping and they may be hurting. So the veteran that serves comes from a completely different perspective, and we need it. And I would encourage more veterans to get involved. The more the merrier. I'm actually just the brand new chairman of the Veterans Caucus. So all the senators that were veterans and all the representatives, we get together, we propose laws together. And I'm talking about Democrats and Republicans, because of course we know our color is green. It doesn't matter, what side you're on when we're talking about veterans issues. And we get together and we hash these things out, and they do the same thing in Congress. But Congress is just broken. It's not working. People keep asking me if I want to go to Congress. I want nothing to do with it. I want to stay here. I want to work on Florida. My country is Florida. It's part of my other country, which is the United States of America. And we will make Florida the greatest country within the union. And then y'all can, copy us if you want.
So, it's great to hear you say that, because a lot of people, like I told this story a bunch of times about like I used to, for a little while I drove for Uber, and I had this kid get in the car, super cock strong, like just I'm going to 10th Mountain, I'm awesome, blah, blah. And and all of a sudden I'm like, hey, good for you, Fort Drum sounds cool. And we kind of were sitting there talking, and like on my driver profile it had like a badge that said veteran and all that stuff. And he's like, oh man, what branch were you in? I was like, I was in the Army. He's like, what'd you do? I was like, I was in an infantry unit. He's like, where was that at? I was like, oh, it's here in the Guard. And he just goes, oh. Okay. Conversation. The wind came out of the sails, and like he's just sitting here. He's like, well, I'm like, what do you mean? Oh, he goes, well, that doesn't count. And I'm like, I would like to know more. Please explain. He goes, National Guard.
Guy who has not gone in yet. Thank you, sir.
I'm like, I've got more time in an Army shitter than you've got in the service. Like, would you just relax, man? But listen, I get it.
Got just super on the tip of my fingers and everything.
But at the same time, dude, I will tell you, like, as much crap as they get, the Guard is such a great experience because you talk about having that connection. Dude, 2004, the 4 hurricanes came through. We were out so much just in Orlando, all over the state, helping people out. And, like, you get that sense of connection. People are just coming up and like, hey, you guys are out here directing traffic on State Road 50, on Colonial Drive in Orlando. You're sweating your asses off, wearing full jungle camis. Like, holy crap, here's some water. We love you guys. Thank you so much. You don't always get that with active duty. And like you do, but not that sense of like small town, hometown connection. And I think that's something that some guys miss out on. So I'm
glad just said that Guard deployed more than active.
Sorry, Alamo, I cut you off. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah.
Oh no, I said that War Daddy just said that freaking Guard deployed more than active anyway. So
listen, the truth is that when you hear people say that, that's super short-sighted. That's that cockiness, like. And you kind of want that, like you want your warfighter to be that level of cocky. And there's but when we get down to brass tacks, okay, the Florida National Guard is second to none. And I'm not even talking about just right now. Way before you guys were ever even in uniform, the Florida National Guard was an enhanced brigade whose job was to round out the 82nd. Literally, the 82nd goes, the people that followed him would be the National Guard. So what that means, all this good equipment come down, all this extra training, all this protection to train, right? When we first kicked off the GWAT, guess who had the Sunni Triangle? Because the A were with the 82nd, and the 82nd goes, give the Florida Guard that over there. It turns out that the Florida guys bag and tag more bad guys, right? And when the active units came to Iraq, guess who they asked to be their trainers? Those were the Florida Guardsmen, right?
Oh, yeah. So
the Florida Guard has a huge history of not only like great technical competence, but tactical competence that truly, you can. And the best part about it is what I always would turn to an active guy is like, oh, you're an infantry guy. Is that all you can do? Right? Because when I take off this uniform, I also have to go do like other things and lead my community. You know what I mean? So it's just a good rivalry. We're all on the same team.
Reach, dude. Yes. Like, and that's the biggest thing you guys don't understand. Is like, you only have to do Army stuff. I have to juggle my family, my job, my school, going to college, my freaking military obligations. Like, you don't get it.
Hey, think about the SF guys you were talking about. You know that those dudes are held to the same SF standard because those guys can literally backfill right now. If an active SF team goes and let's say deploys to Djibouti and they need a round out, they'll put a request. And if you volunteer, you're at the same level. You know what I mean?
And that's something I had to tell that kid that, I was like, listen, I didn't get, I still had to meet the same training criterias as active duty infantry guys. We're just on the state level, so we serve 2 masters. We serve the federal reserve component of the federal force, but we also fall under the state governor. So like you're kind of dealing with 2 masters that are in control of your destiny of doing what you want to do. I didn't get a half credit on the freaking squad attack lane because I was National Guard. I got the same credit, same training. We still had to do that 100 yards of crawling under live machine gun fire with them old ass freaking Vietnam flak jackets on, heavy as shit. You can't breathe. You're sandy. You're muddy. You're just like, this sucks. I am really questioning my life choices right now. But you know what? I did it, and I still graduated. I got my blue cord. Shut up, haters. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, you did good.
Didn't they just send some of our guys over to Texas?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're augmenting, some of the stuff
Yeah.
along Texas. But, you know,
Nice.
something else that's funny, too, you're talking about, Danny, about how we were sought after. So our good friend Brian, who's been on here a few times, he was one of the guys that was in Bravo, second of the 124, that went over and dug through the berm from Jordan into Iraq. And they were there for 18 months. And they're like, oh, wait, you guys are carpenters and electricians and plumbers, and we need to build a freaking base. Come on. Like, they ended up going home with like 5 different combat patches because they got tasked out. And I say this in a good way. They got whored out to a lot of people, my dude.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's just insane. It's like, why, you know, and then like, oh, well, you can do something for us. Come on, stuff. So
Hey, got this too, like civil affairs, right? So civil affairs
Yes.
on the
Our
app.
guy in the comment section, Brian Kirkland, just said that that's his battalion.
Which one?
The ones that went over there and did all that.
Yeah.
We have a proud history in the Florida Guard. Like, but what I was saying about civil affairs, think about this: civil affairs on active duty is under special ops, right?
Yes.
But the huge majority of it ends up being in the Guard, right? And
Right.
so, what makes better civil affairs than civilians that understand military stuff because they're trying to infiltrate in civil affairs, right? So we all have our roles, and when it's time to deploy, you know you got trained back up, and you know you get there. And listen, for your own self-survival, you train up to get there. So here we are.
Oh, he was saying that was his battalion that went to Texas today.
Oh, that went to Texas.
stuff.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
My
good
bad.
stuff.
Sorry, Mr. Kirkland.
So let me ask you. So let's kind of round this out, Danny. I know you drove. You know, you hauled. Probably might have grazed a few speeding laws to maybe
Wasn't
get
me.
back down to us.
Wasn't me.
Allegedly. It's all good. So let me ask you this. So kind of looking back at all the stuff you've done, I mean, you've had a pretty awesome career doing a lot of different things. You know, the 2 words that I think of when I think of you are like service to others and just humble. Like absolutely, like that good mix of all that stuff. So let me ask you kind of like the reflective section. So what's the one thing that you miss from service? Do you know, I know you said you kind of get that feeling of going home when you're around those types of folks like cops and firefighters and first responders. What's the one thing you miss from the military that you just kind of can't necessarily get anywhere else?
I think just doing it, just being in it. There's this intangible. Okay. So Pete and I, so we became friends when we moved to Tallahassee with the Florida A&M ROTC unit. We went and visited them. Their barracks, their building was falling apart. We got them a whole bunch of money to get a new building, right? And so they said, hey, you want to come out and hang out anytime? And we're like, okay. Well, they're like, we're having a ruck march. And we're like, well, we really didn't mean that way. Right? But guess what? We showed up for the road march this week. You know, we put on our packs. We're ready to rock. And brother, just being in that mix, right? Like listening to the Joes smoke and joke, watching like the dynamics as everybody whining when they said ruck up, right? And then bam, the takeoff and that initial like, oh, we're like our legs are on fire and we're complaining and you're saying, what am I doing? I am retired. I'm 50 years old. And then you're like, I'm going to smoke these 18-year-olds, right? Mm-hmm. So all of that stuff, like the mission, the purpose, the training, it's an intangible, this brotherhood that is just, you're never going to find it anywhere else. And this is why, like my son is 19 years old and I raised him around military people for a couple of reasons. One, I wanted that ethic of how we love something greater than us to rub off on him. But the other thing that I've told, and I don't want to force him to do anything he doesn't want to do, but I'd strongly encourage him because I said, son, listen, when you're my age and you look back on your life, you don't want to be the guy that looks at others and goes, I wish I would have served. Just today, I was with a group of men and they said to my buddy, hey, did you serve? And he goes, no, but I wanted to. I said, son, you don't ever want to be that guy. You know what I mean? You don't want to ever live with the regret of what you could have been when you could have been back. And it's a very real thing because people, you doubt yourself when you're that young. And then you find the courage to go, and then you become one of us. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I don't care what you serve. I really don't care. If you wore the uniform, you're one of my brothers and sisters. I will rag on you, right? And you will rag on me. But if someone comes to rag on you that wasn't one of us, I'm going to rip them up, right? It's our brotherhood. It's our way. And we are the real 1% of this country, and it's worth fighting for and preserving. So
you hit the nail on the head there, my man. Absolutely. So I think I know the answer to this question, but would you do all of that over again?
Oh yeah, but I would do things a little bit differently, right?
So what would you change?
So when you enter the military, you've seen movies and you let that doubt creep into your head, right? Like when I went to Ranger School, I remember like the fear of everything that had come before me, right? And I was like, man, and it was just getting to me, and it was defeating me. Going back now, you look and you go, they're never going to defeat you. Like they may take your food, they may take a little bit of your water, they ain't going to kill you, and you're going to come out on the other end. I would have pushed myself even harder to be even more, right? Because I realize now, it's all right here, but I have the sentiment of an old man, and I wish I had that in my young body. You know what I mean? Because I miss the heck out of it. I love it, and I look back on it very, very fondly,
Absolutely. So what would be, if you were to give any wisdom or advice for folks that are thinking about joining the military, what would that be?
So there's a seasoning that comes, right? The current generation wants everything done right now. The magic of the military is the growth, okay? But that takes time. Let the time and the process work, right? You're a private and you already want to be a sergeant, right? But you don't know what it takes to get and become a sergeant and lead men. Go be led. Let the process work. Go suck it up. Take it all in and let the humility of what you're learning be your guide, and you will get to everywhere you want to be, right? I want to thank them first, though. You know what I mean? Think about this, dude. Right now, like there is like less than 25% of American kids are even qualified physically or mentally to become a soldier. That is crazy, right? So we got to encourage those people to come in. We got to encourage them because I'm telling you, when the red flag goes up and the balloon's coming, and it's coming, right? You're going to be calling on 50-year-old men to help fill the rank because the people that are below us aren't ready to rock and roll. And that is a bad day. So,
yeah.
So we actually for our first season back, for our first episode back this season, we kind of did a what if, so we kind of had the hypothetical if Alamo or myself just got promoted to and appointed to the new Sergeant Major of the Army, what's kind of like your legacy piece?
Fitness standards.
Fitness standards, yeah, but for sure.
What'd you say?
Bringing all that stuff. I ended up saying, allowing guys to have beards because, like, listen, I got an email from the IAVA, it's the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, and it was talking about a bunch of different stuff. They're building a new talking about the new memorial that they're going to put on the national lawn for GWAT and whatnot, and I'm not saying anything political, or at least I'm not trying to, but like when they said, they wanted to get a little bit of biographical information, and they were talking about like, okay, are you male, female? And then it had like 4 or 5 other options. I'm like, huh? Like we can say all that stuff. We can let guys have beards, but I also thought because of the fact that we have these folks that don't necessarily see the military as like, you have some leaders, and let's be fair, we have some leaders that are not good leaders. Okay. Right. But I think what we ought to do is bring back the specialist rank structure from Spec 4 all the way up through Spec 9. So you have guys that aren't necessarily good leaders, but they're good technicians at whatever they're doing. Like just because you want to be an admin clerk, you don't necessarily have to be the sergeant major for the admin office or whatnot. You can let guys go up and be Spec 7, 8, 9 and do all that. And then as a result of that, we also said, let's bring back the separate like clubs. Like you have the O club, the E club, the NCO club. You got the I don't even know what they got rid of those back in like 2000. It was, I want to say it was during the Clinton administration. It's now the All Ranks Club, and it's like, listen, it's like you don't want to go into and have a drink with some guys and they're bitching about somebody, and it's like, oh, tell me more of how I'm not a good leader. I'll see you at the parade field at 0530. You can be there at 05. It's like, crap.
The comment section agrees.
Yeah.
Can I tell you what I would do?
What I would do. By all means.
I would get rid of all the crap and get warriors back to being warrior. Our job is to close and destroy the enemy. That is the only thing I care about. And so when we were in, right, and I know that this still happens. When you see the Ranger Battalion, they are protected from all the crap. They didn't paint the rocks. They didn't do CQ. They didn't do any of that crap. They were jumping, shooting, and training, right? That is what our military's got to get back to. We've got to get that warrior spirit back there. So even my line item cook says, listen, I'm going to cook you some mean eggs, but I'm going to kill you if you cross the line, right? And that is okay, okay? That is okay. I'll never forget when one of my first, his name was Sergeant First Class Russell Mims. He's a Somalia veteran, and he was one of our first trainers. Our first day in ROTC, he says, my name is Sergeant First Class Russell Mims, and I'm the son of a bitch who's here to teach you how to kill all them people that need killing. What are your questions? And I remember I was like, did he just say we got to kill people? Right. And then that's when the reality of what we were there to do, it's not a game. You understand that, right?
No,
it's not a game.
Yeah.
And when
it's a calling, it's a calling to a higher purpose. Absolutely.
But the thing is, it is a skill. Like first, we're training people to do.
It's not Call of Duty. It's not Battlefield.
It's abnormal to society. In society, we come to protect life and preserve it at all costs. In the military, we're there to take life when required, right? If we've got to get there. Think about the mind training that we have to do. And when you're doing that halfway, when you're putting other priorities ahead of what that mission is, you're not only making America weaker, but you're hurting our soldiers and our servicemen and women. And that's it. Let's get back to being warriors.
You know, so that reminds me of a quote. I had to look it up while you were finishing up. It said, people sleep peacefully in their beds at night only because rough men stand ready to do violence on their behalf. It's like, yes, that's exactly, you know, and it's like, you know, they can have that sort of ignorance to say, okay, I don't know about that, but that's exactly what it needs. You need to have guys out there just ready to go, moment's notice, to go get the job done, come home and be like, okay, cool. What's next? So, yeah. The last thing, Danny, and I know you were driving for the last few hours, so I'm going to wrap this up. But explain the event that you and your son T-Bird go over and do over in Europe. When you go through the Scottish Highlands or whatnot.
Thank you.
I see the post of that, and it's gorgeous. I'm like, that sounds fucking amazing. Like, yes. So please tell me about that.
So again, you keep hearing Peter. So Peter and I got out at the same time, and we had the same path. He was lost. He was depressed. He was looking. He was searching for purpose. So when we found each other, we said, let's do veterans things. So this is the second or the third nonprofit that we run together. He's the executive director. I'm the chairman of the board. And this is called the Allied Forces Foundation. And this takes veterans from America, England, and now all over the world, and we bring them together. These are men and women who are either physically hurt or mentally hurt. And we put them all in barracks. It is the coolest thing in the world. There's sergeant majors in the barracks with an E2. There's a captains in the barracks with an E1, and they're all civilians now. And it's let's suck it up and drive on. And we have a challenge event in Scotland where we take them. We do a 55-mile road march. You have 24 hours to do it, and then we have just cumulative little events along the way. But the bonding and like the challenge together. I'm telling you guys, people start in the pipeline at the beginning, right? And they're all like, oh, this is what's happening. And they come out at the end and it's cathartic. I have friends now all over the world. Like, I think as American veterans, we don't realize how good we have it, even when we complain. And there is bad. Trust me. We know the VA is. They don't have anything. In England, part of that 55-mile road march is a fundraiser to help raise to their soldiers' charity, which helps their soldiers out. And guys, they don't hardly get anything. They don't hardly get any support. So when we're out there and we realize that being a soldier is a common experience, we just had different flags on a bunch of those people. We take the largest contingent is American. After that, it's British. But there's French teams. There's the Ukrainian team. Man, last year, of the 10 people, 7 of them had been killed in their war. So like it is like real people that have fought. soldiering, it turns out, has a lot of commonality. Warrior mentality has a lot, and the pain they feel has a lot of commonality. So I take T-Bird with me so that he can see what that is, and then and challenge him a little bit. It was awesome. Year one, we're at the end. So it's bronze, gold, or it's bronze, silver, and gold, and bronze is like 23 miles. And this dude hasn't done a road march his whole life. And I was like, son, would you like to prepare some? And he's like, I don't need to prepare, Dad. And I was like, okay, guy, here we go. So there was one point, I mean it.
Calves and shins on fire.
Yeah, well, Alamo, there was one time when I was like, son, I don't want to hear it. Not one more minute. I had to turn into like I was like, be quiet. Let's suck it up. Where there's a guy with one leg beating you. And he's like, but listen,
damn.
This is where the 50-year-old veteran may have bitten off a little more than you can chew. So I about like mile 20, I was like, I'm getting a little. This is starting to suck a little bit, right? And I was like, son, but we're almost there. Just one more corner. And this kid rounds the corner before me, and I see his body language change completely. He goes, and I was like, it's all right, son. We're going to make it. I turn the corner, and all I see are little ants going up this mountain all the way. So, of course, they had to put the end point on for bronze at the backside of this huge mountain. So,
Jesus, that's
but it's awesome. It is cathartic. It is great. So, guys, it's good to know. We just negotiating right now with Spartan Race, right? The people that do Spartan Race. We're going to do an American. It's called a Yomp over there. We're going to do an American Yomp here so that we can raise more money and help more local veterans, because companies are more apt to help in America if they see their dollars going to Americans and they see it like we're something tangible here. So we're going to do an American Yomp. It's going to be a big fundraiser. It's going to be a big challenge for veterans. It should bring everyone together. I'm super pumped about it. It's called Allied Forces Foundation. Be on the lookout. It's really awesome.
Okay. Yeah, that's one of the other things that I'm really loving too about, especially guys in our generation, is you see them just so eager to bring the focus back on like, here's some stuff that needs to be addressed. I mean, just from the sake of like the social media content, like you guys got guys like Matt Best and all those other guys that are out there, bringing attention to it, but also just to do these really cool fundraisers, like the guys with Black Rifle Coffee, they go out there and they do an adaptive archery shoot with guys that have, they may have like prosthetic legs or this, that, and the other. So they're figuring out how they can get them to actually go on these elk hunts and target shoot and all this crazy stuff. And it's like, hell yeah. I mean, I freaking love this stuff. I want to get involved in as much as we can. I got Alamo to do this event. Right. They do one over here in on the Courtney Campbell Causeway going out to Clearwater. They have the veterans run. So they do a 5K, 10K. They do a 16-mile course, and they also do a half marathon. So we ended up doing the 10K a couple years ago, and it's like, well, I'm not just gonna walk and run. Like, let's do something a little bit more our speed. So like, we got rucks, we put on rucks, and just sitting there, just sucking it up, And it was awesome because like it was just like the weather was gorgeous. My mom and my brother ended up doing the 5K. They had a great time doing it. I'm like, this is what I'm talking about. You're just getting that sense of like, let's bring it all together. It was freaking fantastic, man. And I'm so excited to do this shit again.
Don't forget the Mighty Eagle. Don't forget the Mighty Eagle.
So
the Mighty Eagle.
We had rucks on, and there's this old timer in front of us, and you could tell like it's been a while since he's been in, but he had a little bit of a hobble with his walk. But I'm like, I got a ruck on.
His arms are wide out too,
and he's like, he's moving, and I'm just like, okay, I cannot look like a bitch in front of this guy. No way.
Right.
Can't do it. So Alan was like, dude, let's just start to shuffle a little bit. I'm just like, I just want to finish. I'm good. So he takes off in front of me, and I'm like, I should have probably went with them. I'm looking at bad. God dang it. So, oh man. But it was an absolute blast. I mean, we had a great time doing it. They have an honor guard come out from the Air Force Base. They do the national anthem, all this stuff. I'm just like, I might need to pick your brain, Danny, about getting like something event together, because I want to do something kind of like that where just people come in and we have just the absolute a suck fest.
Hey,
let's go suck it up together.
Check out a group called Irreverent Warrior. They Grunt Style. They just kind of took over the administration of this. And there's a guy who was in the sheriff's office, and he was an Air Force veteran named Doug White. He's now the director here in town. Irreverent Warrior. They do the skivvy, you know, like Ranger panty march. Like everyone gets some Ranger panties
Yeah,
on.
Silky's ruck. Yeah.
I don't call
Silky's
him Silky.
right.
I
Yeah.
don't call him Silkies. He can call him that if he wants to. But they're looking
Ranger
for
panties,
more events and more people to get involved. And that's an organization that's already there that could use some of your time and effort. They really could. So,
Okay. Irreverent Warrior. I got it written down right here on my little notepad.
So they're good dudes. So, hey, listen, I know I'm round up, but I want to say two things. One, this might be small, but as veterans, you know, we stand out in the community. And this might be crazy, but when you hear the national anthem, remember we were required to salute when we were in uniform. As veterans, we're authorized to do that. Even by, I encourage every veteran to salute when they hear the national anthem. And people say, well, why are you doing that? Well, I want veterans identified. And so when you're saluting the national anthem, you're showing a pride in self and service. And I promise you, there's little kids watching you going, look at that old man, right? Or look at that guy, that young guy served. He's still so proud that he's willing to salute the flag that he was willing to die for. If we get more people doing that, more veterans doing that, you watch if we respect it, they will respect it, right? So that I'm encouraging all veterans to try and do that. It's a little uncomfortable because, you know, there are people watching you. And so you better be correct, y'all. Remember, pop to it, right? But I think it's really important, and it's a small thing, but I think if a lot of us do it, it'll add up and it'll be impactful. People say it to me all the time when I do it, like little kids are like, or I've seen little kids copy me, which is great because we're trying to encourage making service cool. You know what I mean? So, because its service isn't as cool as it was. The other thing I want to say before we go is, you know, those of us that look and feel right to others, I need everyone to know we're all the same, right? The more we talk about mental health issues, the more we normalize it and the more we allow those people that we said need to take the first step to take the first step. Right now, they're stuck in between their heads saying either they're ashamed or nobody cares or nobody knows what I'm going through. And all of that's just not true. It's simply not true. But we don't get there until we all start talking about it on a we normalize it, okay? And I'm starting to see the boys like in all the tier 1 units talking about it. You see them on YouTube talking about. That's great. That's what we want. But I want everyone in between doing the same thing. The more we normalize it, the more we recognize it. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It is part of the journey that we took. We might not have known it was coming, but it is important that we recognize it's here so that when those of us behind us, those that are coming behind us suffer from it, that they have a guiding hand and we don't end up in a pine box. All right. That is the goal. Everyone deserves to be here. Your service shouldn't be the reason that you end your life. It should be the reason you celebrate your life. And we want to make sure that everyone hears that and continues to fight for themselves as much as they fought for others.
Right on, dude. I mean, yeah, that hit me right in the field.
Hell,
that was good.
Couldn't have said it better.
Well, listen, Danny, I'm super stoked you were able to be on the show. We appreciate it. Thank you so much for hauling ass home and getting on the program with us. Congratulations, by the way. I know you just got married over the last weekend. Congrats, man.
Thank you very much.
Good luck to all that. And
man, hell yeah.
We will.
I mean, she's really smoking hot, but she's blind, and people think I'm weird for marrying a blind girl, but I don't care. She's hot.
And that right there is what people don't get about the veteran community. Like, we are just, our sense of humor is so warped and twisted. We're like, what did I say?
Yes.
No, I'm looking forward to meeting her for the first time, dude. She seems like an absolute just rock star. And you were like, when you made the post, you're like, yeah, we're up here road marching with the Rattler Battalion. She might be a little out of breath. I'm sorry, but she was taking pictures and stuff. But yeah, man, if she's down to hang, man, absolutely, like go for it, absolutely. So,
and Alva, before I go, I just want to say that little flavor saver you got there looks good on you, bro. I just want to let you know that.
Thank you, brother.
Oh man,
keep it up, man. Be good. I'll talk to y'all later.
All right, Danny. Appreciate it, my man. Thank you so
Will
much.
do.
All right, guys. Be good.
All right, man. Oh, sheesh. Oh, that was so good. Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Wow, this is another long one, but hey, you know what? It's worth it though. That's man, just
It's all
that
good,
kind
baby.
of feeling. Yeah, that kind of feeling when we have a great interview with a great host and all that kind of shit. That's like one of the driving that's the kind of the stuff that we are chasing when we do this show. We love to have that kind of stuff. And just that enthusiasm, that energy
Damn
and
right.
all that kind of stuff. Like it just makes this so much easier. So yeah, nothing really to say to follow that. So we're gonna start wrapping this up. If you haven't been with us before, the reason this podcast exists is because of the fact that Alamo and I worked with a guy named John, and John was just a funny ass dude that we worked with back in the day.
Yeah.
John had some demons, and unfortunately, he chose to solve a temporary problem with a permanent solution. So we were talking about getting back into the realm of doing stuff together because he lives in Orlando, I live in Tampa, and he's like, "Man, what can we do?" He's like, "Let's do a podcast." I'm like, "I don't know shit about a podcast," and one of us was like, "Dude, they sent a monkey to space. How freaking hard can it be?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's a good point. Absolutely, absolutely." So then when we were talking about and conceptualizing the podcast, then we found out about John being gone. And later, War Daddy, thanks for stopping by, man. We found out about John, and it was like that was kind of the catalyst. Like, yeah, dude, let's do this. I'm in. Let's absolutely go for it. So we came up with the idea
Yeah.
for the show. Talking about having the hard conversations, having all the stuff. Talking about the things that are just a little bit taboo and not on the ordinary. So we're trying to, like Danny said, we're trying to normalize it. So in the process of coming up with the idea for this show, we came up with the Battle Bros code. So it's easy to remember. Just remember the letters BROS. And it's 4 tenets you can do to kind of keep yourself around and keep people, keep you in the lives of your loved ones. Okay. It needs to be said, like he said, take the
It's
first
paramount.
step. It's paramount to take the first step and listen to these tenets. So the first one is be tenacious. No matter what you do, go at it with that mission focused mindset. Go at it like you're attacking an objective. You're not going to go and just kind of, I think I'll try this. Like dive into it head first, go for it, all that good stuff. Whether it's being a parent, a service member, a person, a tradesperson, if you're a police officer, fireman, whatever the case may be, go at it headstrong, full of vigor, full of piss and wind, and just go for it. Like the great Ron Swanson once said, don't half-ass two things, whole ass one things. Whole ass one thing. So remember, be tenacious. R, refuse to surrender. There's going to be plenty of times, and we talked about with Danny, there were times where failure reared its ugly head more than once. Did he surrender? Did he, just say, I'm done? No, he didn't. He accepted failure, maybe adjusted his plan of attack and went about it another way, or maybe just, chose a different objective, whatever the case may be. That's important. Don't let failure discourage you from achieving your mission, your goal, or what you're striving to accomplish. Okay. Don't let that beat you. Refuse to surrender. Oh, obliterate your obstacles. Like we just talked about. There's times when you get kicked in the dirt. There's times when you end up getting mud on your face. There's times where you have to, go around what you're trying to get to. You might have to go a mile out of the way just to come back on the other side to be able to attack it from a different perspective. Whatever the case may be, that's what happens. Well, no matter what the obstacles are, obliterate them. Sometimes you need C4 in Bangalore. Sometimes you got to back a striker into a small structure. Oops. Yeah, that happened. That guy did it. So yeah, obliterate your obstacles. And the last one and the most important one is S. Seek out help in a time of need. Like Danny mentioned earlier, don't be afraid to take that first step. If there's something wrong, if there's something going on, you have folks that are there for you. You have your the people that you served with. You have your family members. Yes, they might not understand 100%, but there's still people that love you and still respect you and still want to take care of you. Especially with guys and gals that have been in the service together, they kind of understand what that's like, so they can relate to it a little bit easier than somebody who might not have served, might be a civilian, whatever the case may be. But just realizing that, say, hey, I think I'm in a bad spot. I need some help. There are some options out there. Heaven forbid you go down that road where you're thinking, I think I don't need to be here. I should just end it all. Bullshit. Wrong answer. If you go down that road, just know there are ways out. Okay. You can call the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Okay. The phone number is 1-800-273-8255. Again, 1-800-273, type the word talk, Tango Alpha Lima Kilo, talk. You can also call them by dialing 988, and it's actually great for mobile devices because you can call or text. Good on them for kind of stepping up and realizing that we live in a very mobile cellular world, cellular driven device driven world. But can't talk. But yes, I mean, it's still crucially important, no matter
And
what
the cool
happens.
thing is they'll be able to talk to you via text too, aren't they?
I believe so. Yes.
Sweet.
I believe
Yeah.
so. So if
Yeah.
you can remember,
Don't sleep on that, boys and girls.
no, this is what we're trying to help abolish. The fact that there are on average 22 veterans a day that choose to take and solve a temporary problem with a permanent solution. That is not okay. We don't want that anymore. That is our epidemic that is still going on to this
Including
day. And we're
Johnny.
like, bump that
That's
noise.
5 for me.
Yeah. With, it's, I know of a guy that, that happened to that I served with when I was in Afghanistan, and it's shit. So
it sucks.
if you can remember those 4 things: be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need, man, you're going to be doing okay. So just remember those things, keep them near, in the forefront of your mind. And if you ever go down that road, man, just remember those things. And that's a step in the right direction. So on that note, I'm going to hand it off to my glorious co-host here. He's going to start wrapping it up and get us out of here because this is a longer interview, but you know what? Worth it. Absolutely
It was awesome.
Worth it. It was awesome.
So if you'd like to get in, if you'd like to find us on the social medias, you can do that on multiple platforms. You could do that over on the metaverse crap. Over there on the Feces book, you can go to fecesbook.com
easy
/ Battle Bros podcast.
I'm gonna pull a Joey Lawrence here. Whoa. Okay, let's just hold it back here, buddy.
You can also do that over on Instagram. You can find us on Instagram at Battle Bros _podcast. You can also find us on formerly Twitter, now X. Thank you, Elon. And you can do that over there at Battle Bros PC. You can contact us via all of those platforms, via the chat or the instant messenger. We're constantly monitoring those things. We're always watching out for somebody that, hell, even if you're just reaching out for help, that's what we're here. That's what we're here for. That's what we're here for. We are here. Oh yeah, I'm gonna get to that.
Oh, my bad. My bad.
No, you're good. You're good. we are here to make sure that you guys have every single way possible that you can go ahead and communicate with us. And that brings us to the Gmail, where if you don't really want, things to be public, if you don't really want to, if you want to address us in private and kind of talk to us, have a conversation with us, you could do that at battlebrospc@gmail.com. I'm going to say that again. Battlebros Papa Charlie @gmail.com. And you can send us a private message there. We monitor that bad boy 24/7. So look, man, boys and girls, don't hesitate. If you guys are feeling in any way, shape, or form that you can't move on, you can't, and you don't feel like you can talk to anybody about it, dude, message us. Okay, message us. We're here for you guys. We're gonna be here for you guys always. Message us. You can have a conversation, and stop you from making a decision that could possibly be
irreversible.
If you want to catch us on any other platform other than the YubTubs, which you catch us on, you can catch us over on Rumble. We are on Rumble, guys. Yes, we are on a lot of platforms, surprisingly enough. All you have to do is go to rumble.com, or if you have the Rumble app itself, go into the search bar and search Battle Bros, all one word, lowercase, and you will find most of our episodes there. I've noticed that a lot of our stuff isn't uploading as it's supposed to. So I'm going to have to figure out a way to sort that out. However, yes, we are there and you can find us on the Rumble. Just make sure you hit that Rumble button when you actually subscribe to us and get our videos. Oh, and don't forget to, on the YouTube, like, share, subscribe, and also comment. Don't forget, commenting is the key now. Commenting is the key now because unfortunately, liking our stuff isn't good enough for YubTub anymore. Let's see.
Throw up Amelia's website too.
Oh, right. And
we have a very good friend of ours. We have a very good friend of ours who has a side business where she makes her own handmade soap products and whatnot. So you want to check out etsy.com/shop/heart to hand homestead. That is where she puts all of her stuff in there. I believe it's going to also come up under the name Sassy Girl Apothecary. She makes all the stuff is made by hand. It's fantastic. We have a couple of different ones that we've used. It's awesome. I'm trying to show a little bit of love her way. She's been a supporter of the show pretty much from the start. So this is our way of kind of paying it back and paying it forward to her. So, Em, we love you. Thank you so much for the support. Thank you. We appreciate it. And hopefully this helps. The last thing that I wanted to say before we get out of here is just remember, when you're watching this show, if you think, that, hey, I know somebody that might be able to benefit from watching this or hearing the message that we have. We're still a small podcast, yes, but it's important to know that it might not be you that needs to hear the message. It might be somebody else down the road. So by all means, tell your friends, hey, you're feeling a little bit rough. There's these two guys. The one guy, he's pretty funny. The other guy, he's just got a big ass head. It might scare children, whatever. But they got a cool message, and it's all about the veteran community, first responders, fire cops, EMTs, all that kind of stuff. And what they say makes a lot of sense. It's not always about us as individuals. It's like Danny said, it's about the folks that come behind us. If it wasn't for Vietnam vets, having the experiences they had, unfortunately, that they wouldn't have looked out for us. So now we have to look out for the folks that come after us. What we leave behind, so to speak, and the message and all the warm feelings and all that kind of stuff. We want to pass it along to make sure that nobody's left behind and nobody has to go through the kind of crap that others have gone through before us. Yes. Just remember that. Just remember to share the show, not just for the shameless plug, but just for the sake of like, hey, we're trying to accomplish something here and we can use all the help we can get. So just remember, like I said, 4 tenets of the Bros Code: be tenacious, refuse to surrender, obliterate your obstacles, seek out help in a time of need, and just remember, pay it forward, pass it along, tell your friends about the show, and just be like, hey, this is kind of cool. You should give it a listen, especially when we do interviews like this. It's okay to not. Yes. It's okay not to succeed in everything. It's okay to have failure. It's okay to have things blow up and just catastrophically just destroy itself. Whatever. It's all right.
Shit happens, but if you're still moving, you still got somewhere to go.
If you're still, 6 feet up instead of 6 feet under the dirt, you're still able to move and shoot, move, and communicate on your own. Hey, that's a good place to be, and that's where we want to keep everybody. Right. So until we meet you again, hold on. Whole time I haven't sneezed.
God bless you.
And now I have to. Jeez, that's terrible. Thank you. Just remember, we're always here on Friday nights, 9:00 Eastern Standard Time, 2100 hours. We want to thank everybody for stopping by, checking out our podcast. This has been episode 069 of the Battle Bros podcast with installment number 7 of the Veterans Interview 69. Panel. Ass head over here is Alamo. Big head over here is Mac. That's our show. We appreciate you stopping by. Check it out. Tell your friends. And we love you guys. Thank you so much. And we will see you on the flip side.
Battle Bros out.